brighten other people's world with a smile, all of a sudden the world brightens up around you. It's like reciprocal. It's so interesting. And it's something in psychology that I don't want to talk about more because I don't have the studies in front of me, but it's something about us having a good attitude and keeping a good attitude around the people that we are having or around with that makes us so much better at whatever we want to do. Let's stop fighting beliefs. Stop fighting beliefs and let's try to find common ground. We're all on this planet together. According to statistics, it's the person who's mediocre that actually advances further. But is racism the reason the crime rates are so high? I can't say that. You know, that's a tough question. I don't think it's racism. The crime rates are going to be so high. I'm going to be honest with you. Actually, I can't answer that. It's human nature. And I'm being truthful about where we're going right now. We're not going in the right direction. We're not going in the right direction to heal and mend this country. Self-efficacy versus self-confidence. All right, you know what time it is, folks. That's right. It's time for more In the Hot Box with Doc Reo. And I am here today with a kind of different lesson for you. And this next voyage stems off of some of the things that we've been talking about before. And I think after listening to everything that you all have been telling me and the different things that I've faced and the different things that I've gone through in my life, I decided to take a moment and step back. And not just the different things that I've been going on. I mean, we've all been in a pandemic. We've all been in a stressful place. So I had to take a step back. I mean, like we all should take a step back, right? And take a look at where we're at in our world and where we're at in this lifetime. And what I realized is that there's still a need for us to be able to go out here and strengthen each other, a need for us to be able to lean on each other, even if we can't lean on each other, a need for us to know that we're supported by one another. And part of that has to do with some of the behaviors we're used to, some of the lifestyles we're used to, but part of it is just our nature to need one another and our nature to grow. Usually we grow together. Right now we're growing apart. I wanted to start this lesson. This lesson is a little bit different, and I'm coming from a different point of view today here, but I want to do something a little bit different. And as you see, my setup is a little bit different as well. This lesson is called Self-Efficacy versus Self-Confidence. And I'm calling this the Mindset to Believe series. And the reason why this is the Mindset to Believe series is important. It's important because right now I think a lot of us need some belief. I talk about belief all the time. I talk about belief all the time from a standpoint of understanding that I've gone through a lot of craziness in my life. I talk about belief all the time from a point of understanding that I've had to struggle through my life to believe in myself, to believe where I'm going, and to believe past that imposter syndrome that has been laid upon my shoulders. You know, and sometimes I still don't. Sometimes I still feel a need to reach out there and achieve so that I can believe. Now, I think that's important. That's real important because the next part of this lesson is talking about purpose. You know, I wrote a quote about purpose, and the reason why I wanted to start this quote talking about purpose is because I believe this. Purpose is not that which we are inspired, but how we passionately encourage and motivate others. I thought that was interesting when I wrote that down. When I came up with this quote, yes, it's one of my docisms. When I came up with this quote, I thought it was pretty interesting because I don't remember when I first wrote it. And it's one of those things when I look back through my docisms, I'm inspired by my own docisms to come out and inspire other people or encourage and motivate other people. You see, I write docisms to inspire myself, but in turn, I end up using them to inspire or motivate and encourage others. And even if I only reach and encourage and motivate one person, which I'm gonna tell you right now, I've seen a few of my former friends and people out there doing different things that I've never seen them doing before, and I'm so excited. So, like I said, purpose is not that which we are inspired, but how we passionately encourage and motivate others. And I think it's very important. But let's get to the nitty-gritty, because in this video, you will learn how to recognize and understand core beliefs, how to harness the strength of a belief, and how to utilize a belief to reach goals. I want to talk about this lesson from the standpoint of myself, my personal perspective. I am case study number one, as I keep telling people. So instead of coming as what you should do with 3 fingers pointing back at me and telling you, hey, I'm pointing at you, telling you what you should do, but I should do it too, I'm going to tell you what I've done or what I've gone through or what I've seen or what I've experienced. Starting with, who am I and why am I here? Who am I and why am I here? That's important. That's important. Because some people are thinking to themselves, who is this guy? It's this guy real quick. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't been anywhere. He hasn't done anything. Well, you'd be shocked. I'm not as young as I look. 10 years ago, for me, it was not easy for me to figure out the answer to this question. I had difficulty trying to figure out the answer to this question. And part of it is because I felt like I needed to achieve more things to really answer it. And that's strange, because around 2016, I realized that I had already achieved all the dreams I had set out to. Most of my dreams I achieved before I graduated high school. Strange enough. But I had already achieved all the dreams I set out to by 2008. Strange. So, who am I? Well, first of all, I'm a scholar with 5 degrees. I got a degree in behavioral and social and behavioral sciences, definitely. That comes with the fact that I also got a degree in arts and humanities. And both of those come with the fact that I got a degree in film, television, and electronic media, which go with the fact that I got a degree in journalism. Those are my first 4 degrees, completed degrees, finally. Took forever to finally get those 4. But when I did, I got them all at once. Yes. And then this past May, I received a bachelor's degree in electronic media management. So I know a little bit about the textual form of doing media, but it's not just that I know. That's my scholarly side, and right now I'm on another journey, but we'll talk more about that in just a second. I started out as a young professional musician. Like I said, I completed most of my dreams before I graduated high school. I started out as a young professional musician in elementary school. That's me playing first chair. And I was the shortest kid in the class. And not just that, I had the chops. As you see, you might not know this, but the instrument I'm playing, because I'm the shortest and the smallest kid in the class, I'm not playing a trumpet, even though I played the trumpet. I'm playing a cornet, which is a smaller version of the trumpet. I'm a veteran too. As I was saying, I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army. And that took me on a whole nother tour. As you see, I look much younger then. So when you say I look young now, I look 12 when I was in the military. I mean, look at that photo. Look at that photo. Don't I look 12? What do you think? I think I look 12. I look like I was still in junior high school when I joined the military. But I was a veteran of the United States Army. And I did play the bugle overseas for some of those of us who did not go and did not return. But I'm also a producer, a broadcast journalist. I'm going for a master's in education right now at USC. And I'm a learning experience designer. Now, I know that's some long word. It's just another word. It's just a long, fancy name for instructional designer. But I want people to encompass the understanding, because I have degrees in the field of electronic media, because I've spent time in music, because I've been in film and television and done producing in film and television, done producing for film, television, music videos, press kits for Universal Music, for MGM, not MGM, Warner Brothers. I worked at MGM for a little bit. I also worked at Universal NBC. I've worked at CBS. I've worked for the studios. I've spent a lot of time. At one point, they called me the hardest working man in the industry. And that was because I spent a lot of time working in film and television in the early 2000s. A lot of time. And my IMDb has a lot of credits, but that's not all my credits. It takes time to put those credits on, and a lot of them I'd have to put on myself because I'm credited under another name. I'm credited under several names in several ways. Dr. Mario with an I, Mario Amir Lawson, Mario Lawson, Doc Reo. Yeah, I got a lot of credits for a lot of different reasons in a lot of places because I put my feet to the floor and went after what I desired when I desired it. I was passionate about it. I made it to the top and fell back down again and lost it all. But we'll talk more about that too. You see, what I learned through my whole process to become a learning experience designer is that there are 4 pillars of growth mindset. And now I say growth mindset, and don't be afraid because a lot of people hear growth mindset. But for me, I had to learn about growth mindset because I was doing things for growth mindset in my life and didn't understand what it really meant. I've always lived a growth mindset. I mean, people ask me all the time, how can you go out? The other day, I went to 3 different places and 3 different people said, man, every time you come in here, you're smiling. You got a smile on your face. You're always happy. And the truth is, I'm not always happy. The truth is, I'm a post-traumatic stress veteran and I have some mental health issues. The truth is that I work at it every day. The truth is that it's difficult for me as it may be difficult for many of you. And this solo social distancing doesn't help either. As you see, I haven't even been streaming. I haven't even been doing some of the things that I normally do. However, growth mindset has kept me studying, has kept me researching, has kept me looking for answers and looking for ways to change my own life. Now, those 4 pillars of growth mindset are for one thing. One thing you will always learn about life, especially now with the loss of jobs, with the loss of ability to go out and get work, with the changeover in our economy and how it's going to be in the future. We will all have to get out there and learn something new in order to be successful in this society. A lot of people don't want to learn something new. I've talked about that book before, Thinking About Tomorrow. It's on my shelf. Reinventing ourselves. We have to learn how to reinvent ourselves. And I know it's challenging, and I know it's different and difficult, and I know many of us don't want to reinvent ourselves. I mean, it's not easy to reinvent ourselves. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a change in mindset. But what do you need to reinvent yourself? You need the 4 pillars of growth mindset. At least my 4 pillars of growth mindset. These are the ones I use. I don't want to say you need, but I needed these 4 pillars of growth mindset. I needed the 4 pillars of growth mindset so I can take this journey. And it's a cyclical loop. Show things in a cyclical loop because life is cyclical. You know, I was never a history major, but I did study a lot of history. I still do. Matter of fact, a majority of my classes, humanities classes, are in history. Either in film history, music history, Black history, African American history. Yes. American history, government, civics, some people call it, but it's government in our time. I pay attention to these things. And I pay attention to these things because I've noticed that some of the things that I've been talking about through the 4 pillars that we're about to discuss have shown through many of these people. Even Oprah Winfrey said it once. She said we have to believe. A lot of people talk about this all the time. How they've made it from point A to point B is because they put a thought into their mind. They put a concept into their brain. And you see, the image I have for this, believing, is wheels turning. Why do I have wheels turning as the image? And for those just tuning in, we're talking about self-efficacy versus self-confidence. In order to maintain that self-efficacy and self-confidence, because you need them both, but self-efficacy versus self-confidence. We're going to talk a little bit deeper about that. You got to keep those wheels turning. But we have to believe that we can make things happen. Because once we believe that we can make things happen, the wheels start to turn in our heads and we start to think about it over and over again. I talk about this all the time. Having some kind of whiteboard. It's going to pull in a whiteboard. But having some kind of whiteboard with different thoughts and ideas. Having a notepad that you write these thoughts and ideas down and you jot things down. When you start to do that, your wheels are turning. You go to sleep and you think about these ideas and you think about ways that you can retrieve these ideas. I talk about this all the time. Many of you know what I'm saying. For me, I had to do this. I had to go through this process. I sat around and I thought. And as the thoughts compounded upon each other, the thoughts became things that I began to write down and began to manifest. My thoughts began to manifest and become reality. Thoughts become reality through our retrieval process. We come up with ideas to grab these ideas out of thin air. And for me, my third step was to achieve. Yeah, I had to start achieving. Start achieving different certifications. Start achieving different, throughout all this time, I achieved so many different certifications, but I hadn't obtained a degree. When I got those 4 degrees, it was an achievement that really changed my mindset even more. I take a step to go after that degree. But when I achieve that piece of paper, those four little pieces of paper, I push myself harder and harder. And when I got my 5th piece of paper, I graduated cum laude with my bachelor's degree. Now I'm going for my master's degree, which, as you might see on my social media, I said I didn't want to brag about mastery because mastery is a little bit simpler. It's about me learning exactly how to do it and learning the process and steps to get there. Like right now, I'm stretching a couple of bounds. I'm taking some of the process and steps I've learned and using them in the presentation. But at the same time, I'm still free-flowing this presentation because this is about me. It's about how I see it and how I've gone through it. I'm not here to tell you how you should go through it. We all go through it differently. We all take our steps differently. I just want to encourage you through my failures, through my successes, which I believe they're one and the same. We can't succeed without failures. The only way we truly fail is by giving up. When we give up, that's when we truly fail. But once I achieved those steps and achieved those documents, I had more self-confidence in my goals, less fear. Yes, the fear is still going to be there, but the fear became a motivational fear. A fear became a way I can look at obstacles as opportunities. Because that's all they are. Even these obstacles that I've had to get on and start streaming, when I wanted to start streaming at 2, when I wanted to start streaming at 12 actually, and had to push things back to 1. When I wanted to start streaming at 1 and had to push things back to 2, to work out all these issues. And the last issue I just left alone, and that's the closed captioning. But when I look at the 4 pillars, which I haven't given you the last pillar, because I believe I needed time to go through the process of believing, retrieving, and achieving, and then going back again to believe in myself again, to retrieve and achieve. And I've had to go back through the cycle a few times for myself before I can truly say that I can succeed and obtain the goals. I think a lot of people think that success is a one-shot deal. Success is never a one-shot deal. Success takes us back in that circle again. We continue to go through that cycle and go through the process. And sometimes we have to backtrack, take a couple of steps back. We take 1 step forward to take 2 steps back. That's the way life goes. That's the way life is. And that's the way life will always be. But when we take those steps, we should be climbing. We should keep going. We have to persevere and persist to fully succeed. So sometimes we'll go back and rework things and make it happen. I was listening to this guy by the name of, I'm trying to find his name here, Adam Savage. He's a prop maker, famous prop maker. You've probably seen him. He does the lightsabers. He does one-day builds. He's got his own channel, Adam Savage. Savage is tested on YouTube. But he did a one-day build on Hellboy Samaritan. He made a bandolier. And the bandolier was to hold big rounds for Hellboy's guns. Hellboy's big guns. And it was like, he spent this time making it. And the thing he said was, this is the thing he said, he goes, no matter how much you love it, a large part of any work is tedious and drudgery. He also said, Is there a better way I can do it while I do it? I found this odd, okay? I like that he said, is there a better way I can do it while I do it? Because we get stuck in having to do the drudgery. He looks at the drudgery as an opportunity. It's an obstacle. And let me put this in some reference here. In the middle of him sewing, or not sewing, but he was taking straps and making the loops and stitching it through a belt. So he had a belt laid out, a belt of leather right here that he made holes in it. And he had a strip of leather that he was making loops so he can put each round in. And each round went in its own loop, and he was securing the loops. And as he did it and was going through it and had to make the lines and going through the whole process, he knew he had to make a whole bunch of lines before he cut into that leather to make those holes. And while he was making those holes, he stopped and had to take a sigh. And he said, yeah, no matter how much you love doing something, I love making this work. I love creating this work. We all have to do something we don't want to do. There's always something we don't want to do in it. And it takes time and it takes effort. We might have to sit there and file papers all day long to get our stuff done, or go through papers. We might have to sit down and break down a schedule. We might have to sit down and actually write things out. We might have to sit down and do research to do these things that we need to do to retrieve the things we need to achieve. We might be stuck doing something we don't want to do for hours. Take that opportunity to look at ways that you can do it better. That blew me away. I always talk about the idea of taking opportunities from obstacles, but I never thought specifically about figuring out ways I can do it better. I usually think about ways I can make it more fun. But I like the idea of doing it better and making it more fun. That just gets your cake and eat it too. I mean, what can you say? If you love the job you're doing and you can make it more fun and execute it better, why not? So that's what I'll be looking at. The more I do it, the more I do the tedium, I'll be looking at ways I can do it better and make it more fun, especially for you all. So with that being said, let's jump back to more of how I shifted my mindset, so to speak. And I have to say mindset because in 2008, my mindset changed. My whole mindset changed about life. I'd made it to that pinnacle peak. I felt a little stagnant. And my mindset really did change. And as it says up here, I was lost until I was found. It took me a moment to be found. And I know this is also a reference that can be used in many different ways, but no, really, I was lost until I was found. And I take this literally. And I had to believe. And I think it's important. I think it's important that you understand where I'm coming from here. I went through a whole process here. You see, in 2009, I spent it all because I walked away from the company that I was involved in. I was in a moment of my life feeling like I had peaked, I had plateaued, that I wasn't going to make it any further because I hadn't seen anything further than what I was already doing, except for making more money doing it. I spent it all and I walked away. from the lifestyle I was living. And when I walked away from the lifestyle I was living, I didn't really care about what I'd be doing anymore. I kind of gave up. Kind of just said, you know what? There's nothing left for me. Some people call that a midlife crisis. I didn't go out and buy any fancy cars or anything like that. Matter of fact, I don't even think I had a car anymore. I was supposed to be getting another car, but I had already given up at some point. I was living at 30th and Hoover, chilling, kicking back near USC with my friends from USC, barbecuing every weekend, spending money, drinking, partying. Didn't care. Going to games, going to tailgate parties, doing whatever I could to have fun. Going to Fraternity Row, partying with different houses. I don't even want to say the names because some of them got in trouble. Some of them got kicked off the road. But I wasn't doing what I needed to do to get ahead. I was done getting ahead. It was over for me. I had no new goals. And like I tell everybody, I was just comfortable. I was comfortable the way I was living. And what happens? What do I tell people all the time about comfort? I tell everyone all the time, as soon as we get too comfortable, we become complacent. And I was so complacent. I didn't have any financial intelligence to begin with. So any money I had, it just went right out the door anyway. All of it. Gone. Lost it all. And when I mean I lost it all, oh, I lost it all. Everything. I was lost till found. Because in 2010, I was evicted. In December 2010, I got evicted from that apartment on Skid Row. I ended up moving in and living with a friend of mine, you know, who I helped him move into this apartment complex. And within a month, we were all at each other's throats so much I had to go and just take a walk. I had to go walk down from there and just go live on Skid Row. But, you know, I was living a little bit large because I got a room in the Panama Hotel. I didn't really know what Skid Row life was like. No, I didn't. Not till DPSS decided, Department of Social Services decided to tell me that, oh yeah, you only get a few weeks of that Panama Hotel voucher we gave you. You're gonna have to figure something out because soon you'll be living on the streets. I slept on the curb, right there, 4th and Main, or right in that area. Slept on the curb at night. No tent, just a blanket. I almost did some things I shouldn't have done on that curb. And it was kind of a smack in the face. I got off of that curb and I got into the car. I had a car. I had a car. I got into my car and I went over to Silver Lake, the actual lake, Silver Lake Park. And I parked at the park, and every morning I get up and do my wash-ups and everything in the sink at the park. Head back on down to 4th and Main, sell cigarettes to make a little side money. Take the little $200 a month they give us from DPSS and the food stamps and hustle that to make more money. Sell any extra things I had left in my storage, left over from my storage that was taken because I lost my storage units. Lost thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Film, television equipment. Film, actual film. Cans of film. Thousands of dollars worth of stuff. Things that I can never replace. But they're just things. Lost it because I gave up. Had no more. But living on Skid Row, or living that lifestyle and seeing the psychosis that I was falling into. Already having my own issues with post-traumatic stress. I was a little, yeah. I was definitely on edge. I was definitely not in a place I wanted to be. You know, it's difficult to understand that when you're there, even when you're feeling it sometimes. It was important that I recognized it. It's because I recognized it that it was a big wake-up call. So much so, within that year, I started to do some things. And get back on the road. There was a place on Skid Row that helped those of us who wanted help to go in and look for jobs, to start to build a resume, coaching, counseling, all these different things that we could get to help us, assistance, resources. To the point where I found some resources for me, personal resources for me. Everybody's got a different situation. Everyone's situation is so different that sometimes I can't tell people things that will help them when it comes to resources. But I can tell you that there are resources out there. We just have to find them. And unfortunately, during this pandemic, a lot of those resources won't exist anymore. Don't or won't exist anymore. So we have to keep looking for them. We have to keep searching for them. And if any of you out there find any resources that you want to share with other people, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Send them to me later on. Put them out there so that we can share them with other people, because I think it's important. I think it's important that we share any resources we can share with people out there so that they can get ahead and grow as well. So on that journey, I started to get my stuff together, and by December of 2010, you see, 2009, December 2009-ish, I was evicted. By December of 2010, I was in another apartment. I had gotten my stuff back together. I gotten back in an apartment and didn't have any furniture. I didn't have anything. I lost everything. I still had a computer, which is funny because there was at one point that I was playing World of Warcraft in my car, had the monitor sitting in the center console, had a AC/DC converter taped to the hood with the lines running up the car so that I can plug into the car. And we're talking about a tower computer with a monitor. And I was sitting with a little tarp with my door open over the car, watching movies and playing video games down the block from the library in downtown, in a neighborhood over by the library, the big LA library, chilling where I could park. That was another place I parked. I forgot about that. For a while there, I lived over by the library because the library had internet access. I can come in and work on some things. And you know, I played World of Warcraft. After that, I got a Sprint phone, which I never paid the bill on. I didn't have any money. I didn't have money to pay that bill. I used a Sprint phone. And the Sprint phone was my internet access. And it was pretty good. That Sprint phone really had really great internet access when it came to being a Wi-Fi point, access point. And I thought it was great that I could actually play World of Warcraft. Sometimes I was even raiding in World of Warcraft with 25 people, 25-man raids. Wirelessly. from a cell phone while sitting. A lot of people that I was doing this with didn't know that I was sitting on a curb in somebody else's neighborhood outside the car I was sleeping in, playing this video game. Even when I got into this new apartment and I didn't have any furniture, I found this desk. Matter of fact, this desk over here, my favorite desk, I found it out there. It's kind of a Lego-like desk because of the way it's built, and it was strong. I found this in the apartment that I moved in. It was in great condition, so I just took it and fixed it and kept it forever, and it's one of the best desks I've had. A lot of stuff I got right after that were hand-me-downs, things that people handed to me. Matter of fact, the great Gage Taylor poster on my wall was gifted to me because one of my neighbors had this on their wall. They moved out, they threw it away. My other neighbor found it and brought it to me. And I had realized I had seen it before. And then my other neighbor's son came by, who would always come by, and he goes, "Hey, that was in my living room." And I went, "That's where I saw it before." It's a replica of the Gage Taylor on this road, who actually painted this for Larry Coryell, jazz guitarist, his album. The road, I'm supposing, was also a road for musicians, but this painting doesn't have the same tree in it twice. Every tree in this painting is exactly different. That was Gage Taylor doing tedious and drudgery work, but creating art. And this is just a fabrication. Somebody posted these onto headboards and they became illegal pieces, so they shouldn't be sold, but plenty of people have different style headboards of these, and so that's one of them. But let's get into 2011. You see, because once I got into this opportunity in 2011, I had the opportunity to believe. Why? Because I had time to think. You see, thinking, once again, as I said earlier, gets those wheels spinning. Once you get those wheels spinning, it's all uphill from there, but it's also downhill. It's a flowing motion. It's drudgery and experimentation all rolled into one. And I like that. I really do like that, because it gave me an opportunity to research. And that's when I fell into Maslow's hierarchy. Maslow's hierarchy. Something that's being used against us today. Used against the middle class today. How many of you actually, or how many of you have read about Maslow's hierarchy and understand the different levels of what it really means? It's all about our progression. The way I see it, it's all about our progression forward. The way Maslow designed it. Our wants, desires, needs are actually in one. You see, Maslow talks about these being a hierarchy of needs. However, some of these needs are wants. Some of these needs are desires. And I feel like some of Maslow's hierarchy is antiquated. A lot of people argue with me about that. And I don't have any data to back that up. Not yet. But I will in the future. You see, Maslow's hierarchy gave me, or encouraged me, to make change in myself, to see the world differently, to see the world from a different angle. And within that angle, I decided to make change. But Maslow's hierarchy allowed me to see where I needed to go in my life to make change. And it allowed me to also understand what was going on. Because physiological needs were being taken care of. Safety needs were being taken care of. I hadn't started taking care of the needs above those two first levels, but I started taking care of my needs. And that change built that hunger, revived that hunger that was in me before. And it started to help me look at my mindset and realize that a lot of my anger was stemming from my fear of success. Even though I had succeeded, I feared, where would I go next? What should I do next? If not get bigger and better at doing it. But I feared getting bigger and better at doing it. I feared it because I knew that it came with more turmoil, tedious turmoil and drudgery. It came with more work, more effort. I had to do more, I had to learn more, I had to build upon more to get ahead. And I didn't understand that that's what was driving me to get ahead. The more I learned, the more I practiced learning to go ahead, the more I was being driven to do more and get ahead. This was important because I stopped being hungry. That's right. Not that I stopped being hungry to be comfortable. I stopped being hungry because it wasn't about food. I can go without food. I can go a year without food. It's been proven, people have. But there's one thing I can't go without, and that's water. You see, being thirsty means you're scraping and scratching for more. Being thirsty means you're reaching for more opportunity to believe. Being thirsty means you find ways. Those wheels keep turning. You look for ways. I see today more people, because they don't have, are out there doing what? Going to food banks. Ways. Looking for ways they never reached in and gone to before. So that they can get ahead. So they can stay at an even keel of their life. So they can stay living with a roof over their head. So they can stay feeding the people in their families. So they can stay living. So they can stay happy. You see, the Maslovian Pyramid is all about our needs. Our needs, when we talk about physiological needs, air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, the need to reproduce. When we talk about safety needs, personal security, employment, resources, health, property. We need those, a roof over our head. When we talk about love and belonging, we need a relationship. We need intimacy. We need friendships. We need family. We need that sense of belonging, that sense of connection. When we talk about esteem, everybody wants to be respected. Everybody wants to build up their self-esteem, that self-confidence, that status, that recognition, strength. It's that strength within us that drives us. It allows us to be free. Right? And then that self-actualization, that ability to think that you can become more, that you can do more, that you can reach higher heights. I have a problem with that, though. I really do have a problem with it. I have a problem with it because the Maslovian period comes from a time of Freud. You see, Freud, just as Maslovian, just as Freud, is antiquated in its thought process. If we use some of Freud's thought today, everybody who had post-traumatic stress would be committed. One more time. If we use Freud's thoughts in today's society, every person who has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress would be 5150 instead. In his book with James Brewer, Studies on Hysteria, Freud says, and I quote, "Much will be gained if we succeed in transforming your hysterical misery into common unhappiness. With a mental life that has been restored to health, you will be better armed against that unhappiness." You see, Freud understood hysteria or mental health issues as hysteria. He basically labeled it as a form of hysteria, saying that your hysterical misery, you can transform that into common unhappiness. Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop for a second. Not that you will get better. Freud says that a person will go from hysterical misery to common unhappiness. Not that you will go from hysterical misery to being cured, but to common unhappiness. And why would they never be uncured of their unhappiness? Because it is better for them to cure their hysterical misery by being comfortable, complacent with unhappiness. That's a problem I have with it. Why? Because Sigmund Freud and Maslovian belief is outdated. It's antiquated. It's saying that we should all live in unhappiness, that we should all settle for normal, that we should all hope to become hope. We should hope to become something. And that we should struggle. That the struggle is really real. You know what I mean? I always tell people the struggle is only as real as you allow it to be. Once again, the struggle is only real if you believe it. Belief. If you believe the struggle is real, then it will be real to you. But if you believe the struggle is just an obstacle, and an obstacle is an opportunity to find ways to do things better, to find ways to grow, then you'll see, or like what I had to see, that the struggle is a part of the process. That the struggle is a part of failing to succeed. As Edison said, he didn't find one way to make a light bulb. He found thousands of ways to fail at making a light bulb. In a sense, that's paraphrased in a sense. But these are some of those same thought leaders, because when we talk about Edison, we talk about people like Ford, we talk about Carnegie, we talk about Napoleon Hill, we talk about these thought leaders, we talk about Wallace Wattles. I don't know why. Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. We talk about Hanno. The Master Key System. We talk about all these people who tell us to focus on one thing: our thought. Our thought is the key. We hear people talk about the secret all the time. The secret. The secret is believing. The secret is believing that we can achieve. The secret is believing that we can retrieve so that we can achieve, so that we can succeed. That's the real true secret. The secret is thought. The power of thought allows us to move ahead. But it's not just believing. It's believing and working out our mind. Well, how do we do it? I can sit there all day and get on my knees and meditate and think to myself, I will get this, I will get this, I will get this, I will get this. Well, if I keep saying I will get this without saying, how will I get this? I will not go anywhere. The power of belief comes from us taking our tools and using them. Taking our tools and building that strength. You know, what is the strength in belief? The strength in belief is, it has to start with you. It really does. Because we have to reach inside. We have to do a little soul searching. Each of us individually. I can't tell you for you what the strength is for me. I had to ask myself, what do I believe? The first thing I said, well, what do I believe? What do I truly believe? I found that the one thing I believed in more than anything else is in myself. Because I can trust that whatever I desire, that I want to do, that I will attempt to get it done. I can trust that. Before I didn't think I could trust that. But after getting 5 degrees, I realized I can trust that. After getting 5 degrees and looking back on my life and realizing that I accomplished my dreams, all of my dreams, all the way up to 2008, and getting my degrees was a new dream, I started to realize that I believe that I can achieve. I just had to reinforce it a little bit by trying to understand, how hard is it for me to get it? Each time I took those steps, I had to look back and look at how hard it was for me to get to that point. How hard has it been for us? And within that difficulty, did I find better ways to do it? You bet your life I did. I always found better ways to do it. I find easier ways to do it all the time. Matter of fact, this presentation, doing this for you all. Look at this presentation setup. This is all new. This is all new for 2021. This is how I'm setting up, and this is rough. I'm not even done with it yet. Still got it going. I'm gonna keep it going because it takes the strength of belief to keep things going. That strength inside makes us push past how hard. It's like working out. I put this there for a reason. It's a lot of weight there. But we are pliable. We are adaptable. We can change. That is one golden jewel we have as human beings. And when I say it's like a gold diamond, you know, gold flakes all in within the hardest crusted substance on earth. You know, I didn't even know how to say it. It's just the most rarest thing you can find on earth. That's not a meteor. I say that because we find some of the other metals, we get a lot of things that fall onto this planet. And it just shows us how minute we are in this universe. And that if we didn't believe that we were bigger, we wouldn't even be able to travel from state to state. That's why I think it's important to not look at Maslovian law the same way. What I mean is, it needs to be inverted. I really think this whole concept needs to be inverted. Instead of, if we want to start at the bottom, we need to start at the bottom with the top. Now, I could have changed the pyramid any old kind of way and wrote it differently, but I think self-actualization needs to start at the bottom of the pyramid. Why? Why do I think that? Well, because if we actualize and believe that we can do more, once again, those wheels start turning. When those wheels start turning, we start retrieving it. When we start retrieving it, we start to build that self-esteem. We start to build that self-confidence. That self-confidence helps us go out there and we start looking for that loving and belonging within the community. That loving and belonging within the community helps us build more projects, build more things, build more routes, build more avenues, build more ways. That we provide safety for not only ourselves, but we provide safety for our community. See where I'm going with this? We not only do something for ourselves, we do something for our community through that. And we not only do we do that, we also provide the physiological needs, not only for ourselves, but for people in our community. Because we've seen that we can be greater and we can do something bigger. I think that's the problem with schooling today. A lot of people don't understand how to make it through schooling because they haven't flipped the pyramid. In their life, they started with the idea that they've got the basics. They got the roof over their head, they're safe, and they may even have somebody to snuggle up next to and keep warm and make babies with during this time. I'm gonna just be honest. And they haven't got past that thought of, well, I need to build my self-esteem up more so I can go out there and generate more. I'm just gonna sit here and figure out what the government wants to do. That's what some people in the government are afraid of. That's what a lot of people in the government are afraid of, that there are people out there that that's all they want to do. And that's, I mean, I don't want to say that's okay, but that's okay. That's okay. Because not everybody's going to want to do what's necessary. Not everybody will do what's necessary. That's just the way life is. And it's not fair. But you don't hear me crying about it on TV. Oh, it's not fair. Life is not fair. It never has been fair. It will never be fair. It is full of tediousness and drudgery. It is full of obstacles that we can provide or find opportunity, in which we can find opportunity. Now, I found some research from someone named Manfrotto. Not sure which exact way it's pronounced. But this person said, starting at the bottom mitigates the dream. Starting at the top raises the performance bar. As in Maslow's hierarchy, the same objectives will be covered, but the process will yield richer results. I think that was so powerful right there. Starting at the bottom mitigates the dream. Starting at the top raises the performance bar. As in Maslow's hierarchy, the same objectives will be covered, but the process will yield richer results. Meaning, if you start at the top, you not only do for yourself, you do more for more people, but you also build it with so much strength. It's like an architect must believe that their design can be built before they build it. Now, they didn't just go out there and just try to lay some foundation and then build on top of it and then design it along the way. They laid out their idea. They laid out their concept. They looked at their concept. They actualized their concept first. They found every little detail they liked about it until they had enough self-esteem and feedback from people in the community, belonging, care is like love, that they could sit back and say, well, we could figure out a way to make sure this is done safely and is utilitarian for whatever physiological need it serves. It has to be that way. Because if it is that way, I mean, it is much better that way. If we didn't think that way to begin with, we would never get anywhere. But many of us struggle with getting somewhere because we have this pyramid flipped upside down. And I believe this setup, the inverted Maslovian pyramid, is more of a growth mindset belief. It encourages us to live to be happy. It ensures that we never settle for less than success. It allows us to become what we want to become, what we desire, what we dream. And so that we can create our dreams to fulfill other needs, not just individual selfish needs, but the needs of our community, the needs of our world. I've talked about this over and over and over and over and over again. And I say it one more time. Obstacles are like opportunities. I even had a quote for it. Opportunities become available with every obstacle we face. But it takes intrinsic interest in the problem for individuals to troubleshoot solutions. Intrinsic interest. That's internal interest. There's two types of interest. Intrinsic are two types of value. There's intrinsic and there's extrinsic. Intrinsic means that there's some love, there's some care, there's some desire there to get it done without someone having to present some kind of monetary or award. Or intrinsic value means you do it just because you care about it. You want to see it happen. Extrinsic value means you do it for some kind of exchange, for some kind of need, for some kind of desire. You may even do it to get the intrinsic value out of it. Who knows? But that's what it stands for. As you see, this climber is doing this because they care about it. I mean, why else would you hang cliff? You have to love it. And you have to care about it enough to know all the safety precautions you need to know to do it. Right? With that being said, what are your next steps? I know this is more about me. It's more about my process. It's more about the steps I've taken. But many of you are asking, well, you've talked about all these ways of getting to belief, to retrieve, to achieve, to succeed. But what are my next steps? What do I need to do so I can make this work for me? Well, the first thing you need to do is, what do you want? You need to ask yourself that. You need to get down and dirty. What do you want? And this, I say the next steps are the 5 W's. And the first 2 W's are who and why, which is you and why. Why do you want to advance? What are the reasons behind you wanting to advance? And also, when you talk about the who and the why, you got to talk about the when. When do you want it? Now, everybody's going to say something that's ridiculous, like, oh yeah, I want it tomorrow. But no, this has to be a feasible time frame. This has to be looking at goals. And I put it like this. Put out a 10-year plan. Within that 10-year plan, you should have goals linking up to that 10-year plan so that your 5-year plan is a goal to get to your 10-year plan. And within the 5-year plan, you have a once-a-year plan. And within the once-a-year plan, you have a biannual plan so that you're meeting biannual goals. You're meeting annual goals. And then you may have a monthly goal that you need to meet. You know, a quarterly goal that you need to meet, and then a monthly goal that you need to meet. I've done each and every single one of them down to the point where right now I'm on a 52-week plan. This 52-week goal plan means I have to have 52 of something being broadcast. That's my goal, to have 52 episodes being broadcast to you this year. Now, once you found out the who, the why, and when do you want it, you have to figure out what you need to get it, right? What's it going to take to lock it down? What's it going to take to make it happen? That's the important part. How do you make it happen? Got to get into that. That's one of your steps. And writing this down is a step in this step. When you answer these questions to yourself, what do you want? Why do you want it? You know what I'm saying? When do you want it by? Give yourself ample time to get to it, to make it happen. And what do you need to get it? You know, a lot of times we need people. A lot of times we need people to get something somewhere. Sometimes we don't need people. Also, I think a lot of people forget about this one. This one's important. Where are you going to get it? You know, because you can say, oh yeah, I can get it from such and such, but are you really going to get it from there? Be focused on where you're going to get it, because that's going to affect any of the budget you plan on putting out there. And with that said, I want to thank y'all. Thank y'all for watching. If you have any questions or comment, feel free to call me at 310-844-9285. That's 310-844-9285. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to stop on by. 310-844-9285 or stop by docreo.com. Once you stop by docreo.com, you may notice some more lessons. You may not notice some lessons, but just feel free to drop a line or give me a call. Call with a gripe. Leave a message with a gripe. It's the hotline. Call the Doc Reo hotline. And if you're wondering my references, some of this information came from Brewer and Sigmund Freud on studies on hysteria, and it was by Basic Books. There was also an article in National Real Estate Investor by a Miss F. Ferrone. I don't want to assume, but it's called Inverting Maslow's Pyramid by Design. It's one of the only things I found. It is not an empirical article. It is more of a review / opinion, but they had some interesting concepts in it. I do recommend stopping by online, Amazon most definitely, and getting this book, One Thing. One Thing is a book that I think that you all would definitely like. It helps you focus. Or it talks about tips on helping you focus on one thing so that you can make it toward your goal. Now, we talk about this in learning design and technology. We call it task switching or switch tasking. Because we don't, as human beings, we do not multitask. Computers don't even multitask. They actually concentrate on one thing at a time, but they do it so fast, it's like multitasking, all right? We as humans, we don't do it either. We stop and we concentrate on one thing at a time. Even when we're answering questions and we may hear something, but at some point, we let go of one thing to focus on the other thing and give it more importance. So at some point, we are leaving something behind at one, because we need our focus to be on one thing at a time to make sure it gets done properly. It's just the way it is. And when we switch tasks, split focus, we tend to lose track of what we're doing, where we're going, and what we plan to do. Just like now, I am switch tasking right now, and it's not necessarily stopping me from doing what I need to do, but I'm not actually speaking with you effectively. I'm looking over to the left. I'm not giving you my full attention, but there's a reason why I'm not giving you my full attention. It's because I'm about to paste in chat the link to one thing. The one thing. So it's important that when we do concentrate. And by the way, this is an affiliate link. So if you do use this link, small portion of whatever you spend is sent my way. It's not taken from whatever you spend. The person gets paid, but Amazon reimburses me for you using that link. So that's just the way it works. Once again, one thing, that's the book. I definitely say check it out. That came through. Go ahead and click that link if you'd like to know more about the one thing. The other items, the other references. If you want to learn more about the other references, you can go ahead and check those out. You can go ahead and check those out right here. But that's it for today. Thank you, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions, comments, and concerns, please stop by. Leave those questions and comments. Leave those concerns. And feel free, if you like what you see right here, feel free to smash that like button. All right. And if you really like what you see, and you feel like this is something that you want to get into, feel free to push that subscribe button. I'm gonna have more lessons just like this coming out soon. We're gonna go with the next lesson real soon. That's gonna be on retrieval. Steps it takes to retrieve the information you need. How to transform from just believing to start retrieving the steps you need to get ahead and become successful. This is Doc. Stay tuned for more In the Hot Box with Doc Reo as I get ready to step on out of here. Once again, I hope you like what you saw, like what you heard. Feel free. Come on by anytime. See you soon. This is Doc. I'm out of here. Peace. Stay tuned for more In the Hot Box with Doc Reo as I come back next week with the next lesson. I'm out of here. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of harming themselves, please contact the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. And if you're a veteran of the armed forces, press 1 after dialing 1-800-273-8255. Doc Reo TV.